The Royal Roads University Chancellor's Community Recognition Award was created in 1998 to recognize the efforts of individuals and organizations whose actions or service has made an outstanding contribution to the community and to humanity. In addition to the award they will receive, the recipient's name is inscribed on a plaque which is kept at Royal Roads University. It is my great pleasure to introduce the recipient of this year's award, Mr. Eric Charman. Please come forward, Eric. Eric Charman is a true champion of the arts in the Capital Region. He believes passionately in the ability of art to inspire hope and comfort in people of all ages. He has dedicated his life to supporting the arts through fundraising and awareness events, regularly giving emerging artists valuable exposure and encouragement. Mr. Charman attributes his passion for music and the arts to his experience as a child growing up in a series of orphanages when the radio was his closest companion and the music he heard his greatest comfort. When he immigrated to Canada from England in 1953, he felt he had finally found his true home and pledged to do whatever he could to make a positive difference for his new community. And he has done that in spades. After 5 years in financial services and 38 years in the real estate profession, he combined his business acumen with his love of the arts and began to fundraise for the region's artists, musicians, and actors. He has organized hundreds of charity events and raised millions of dollars for local organizations, in many cases single-handedly managing events. Notable recipients of his fundraising efforts include the Victoria Art Gallery, the Victoria Symphony, the Victoria Conservatory of Music, Kaleidoscope Theatre for Young People, and Pacific Opera Victoria, among many, many others. It is our privilege and pleasure to add to Eric Charman's many awards for his dedication to promoting and supporting the arts. His accolades include an honorary doctorate of laws from the University of Victoria in 1998, the Queen's Jubilee Medal in 2003, and the Natition Award for volunteering in the performing arts, volunteerism in the performing arts, one of the 2008 Governor General's Performing Arts Awards. He also holds the 2004 Generosity of Spirit Award from the Association of Fundraising Professionals and the 1993 Edmund G. Bovey Award for Leadership Support of the Arts from the National Charitable Association, Business for the Arts. He is a member of the Order of Canada and the Order of British Columbia, as well as a Knight of the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. For his dedication to the cultural life of his community, I am pleased to present Mr. Eric Charman for the Chancellor's Community Recognition Award. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chancellor, members of the Board of Governors, faculty, Mr. President, stop smiling. You know, As one who has spent a minimum number of years unsuccessfully attempting to become educated, it's quite a thrilling experience to be here among members of this large and successful number of graduating students. You may wonder why I declined the invitation of the President and Chancellor to gown today. During my few years at school, I was threatened with expulsion on so many occasions. I didn't want to give the thrill to either of you gentlemen of disrobing me if you didn't agree with what I had to say. You know, I did mention at dinner to the Chancellor last evening, one of the reasons I failed so badly at education was I never did my homework. And I can remember clearly the last time I had the question addressed to me, why the hell haven't you done your homework? I said I enjoyed doing it so much I wanted to leave some to look forward the following day. But I'm very touched by the fact that your Chancellor has chosen me for the Chancellor's Community Recognition Award. When I arrived in Canada in 1953, I arrived, as many of you know, as an unadopted orphan who had never met either of his parents. And in fact, for the record, and I think it's probably a Guinness record, I did meet my mother for the first time when I was 65 years old. But after working for approximately 1.5 years in this Victoria area, I had a feeling, as a result of the cooperation and the kindnesses of individuals with whom I worked and met, that I had actually been adopted by this community. So I immediately felt a desire to reciprocate. From 1955 to 62, I was an active member and president of the Victoria Junior Chamber of Commerce, which was known as the Victoria JCs. And at the weekly dinner meetings, we preceded the sit down to eat by reciting the JC Creed in unison. And I always was aware, and still am to this day, mindful of one of its tenets: service to humanity is the best work of life. I've derived considerable enjoyment in my attempts to improve the affairs of my community, to assist in development of health and education programs, and with a special emphasis, of course, on the arts. I say to the graduates that I managed my time during my life, which I urge all of you to try and do in the future, in such a manner that I could allow sufficient time to involve myself in community affairs and the challenges of the community, to such an extent that I often derived more excitement and gratitude from successfully completing a charity event as I would have derived from completing a business transaction. I urge everyone to find time to put back into your chosen field of endeavor and to put back energetically into the needs of your community. You know, in this age of technology, one can start to lose personal contact with one's fellow human being. This is a matter of great concern to me. I urge you, wherever possible, to forget the email and abandon the phone in favor, of making that personal contact. Enjoy the experience of one-on-one relationships with your fellow citizens. We all know that some of the greatest successes in business and in charity work have actually resulted from personal contacts, whether golfing, fishing, participating in team sports, or even the straight old-fashioned cocktail sipping sessions. Fellow humans should meet and chat. Strong personal bonds cannot be achieved through technical substitution. Maybe the sudden changes in political climate throughout the globe are resulting from this new involvement by so many in social media and other isolationist electronic mediums, thus allowing the absence of the more desirable personal contact. My record clearly shows that I've spent many hours, in fact years, putting back into the real estate industry, and I derived enormous satisfaction from having convinced myself that I had effected many necessary changes to the organization. I can remember when I was president of the Victoria Real Estate Board, salesmen were not allowed to be members of the board. The establishment that controlled the business felt that the salesmen were another group, another class. I appointed a committee to investigate the desirability of giving salesmen pari passu membership with the agents. And of course, I made sure when I appointed the committee that what their decision would be. And I got calls from Montreal, Toronto, and all over Canada saying, "What on earth's going on in Victoria? You've given the business away." All I can say, and I know, sir, Mr. Chancellor, you were in the business, where the business would be if it wasn't for the salesman. I've, as you know, served on many boards and committees. And I've always felt and encourage you, if you're ever invited to join a board or a committee, do so not to be a title taker, but to decide what can you do as a member of that board to assist the cause for which it presides over. You're there to work effectively, to contribute, and in business, wherever your profession may be, there will be days when you encounter obstacles and difficulties. My staff and I always adopted the policy that if there was a problem, the problem is solvable, and it should be turned into profit. By profit, we did not mean just dollars and cents, but to find a way to enrich the lives of all concerned in the problem. I encouraged my staff to ensure that when a transaction was completed, one should be happy and comfortable at meeting both parties to the transaction in the same room at any time in the future. Mr. Chancellor, in accepting your award today, I'm mindful of the fact that I've received many awards from my adopted country and its community, which, as you've said, include the Order of Canada and the Order of British Columbia and many others. I've always accepted, and I accept today on the understanding, they're not really for Eric Charman. He merely received the credit for leading many members of his community on numerous occasions, and for the many fellow citizens who joyously worked and accepted the leadership. At this time, Mr. Chancellor and Mr. President, I congratulate Royal Roads University, which is now globally recognized as an educational institute of excellence, where students are able to coincidentally continue to work in their chosen field whilst advancing their education and succeeded in reaching their vocational goals. Sadly, no similar opportunity was available to me when I arrived in Canada in the 50s. There were 1 or 2 evening classes offered, but of no interest. But to be able to, and I've seen so many examples right here in Victoria, of those who've graduated from your programs continue to work in their business. You know, I adopted, when I first entered business, a motto which I had written above my desk, which I hope could be of some assistance to you all. Reputation is more lasting than wealth. A good reputation is great wealth.